Hey, just a reminder before we get into the video, I have a fan comic, a He-Man Masters of the Universe fan comic. I've got 6 volumes, 6 graphic novels. These are 1, 2, and 3. I have 4, 5, and 6 available as well. They're graphic novels, each one. A fan story that I come up with years ago and just decided to make, and spent several years doing it and just kind of got out of control. And I just ended up making 6 graphic novels of the whole thing, and I have them available, and if you're interested, hit me up. I also have a sketchbook available, black and white figure drawings, female figures, some adult content in there, just a sketchbook that I put together. And also something I keep forgetting to mention to anybody is that I have copies of this series. It's called Ghost Agents. This is a series, you can Google them and find out who and what they are, but they had me contribute to one of their books, this book, and I did a 6-page, 8-page story. I can't remember what it was. Inside here, it's a beautiful newsprint. I've never thought I'd ever have the opportunity to see my work printed on beautiful newsprint. So there's this short story that I drew, written by our writer Rocco Jerome. This is in here along with several other short stories. It's some pretty incredible stuff, and I have about 5 or 6 copies of these left. I was given a pile of these to be able to sell to people. There's also a backup story of the Metropolis series, if you remember from the movies. Some really incredible artwork in this thing by a lot of other talented people doing a lot of fantastic stuff. These are pretty shockingly interesting, and I have to say that this art reprinted on newsprint looks fabulous, and I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to be part of it. So I still have a few copies of this thing left. So if you're interested in any of these, message me on Instagram, on Facebook, anything, and hit me up, and we'll see about getting you a copy of these things. So that is all I've got for now, so on to the video. Hey, thanks for joining me. We're on issue 29 of Cyberforce. I've been going through all these books. I was going through all the Youngbloods and all the Wildcats and all the Cyberforces from issue 1. And we're getting towards the end of Cyberforce. I think it's immediately after this that the series goes into what the fuck is it called? The Devil's Reign? It was a crossover with Marvel Comics. My brother's kind of covered that on his channel pretty extensively, and I'm going to do the same thing here eventually. But after the Devil's Reign storyline, is that what it's called? I'm sure there's got to be an ad for it in here. Because how could there not be? Well, there's not. Oh yeah, it's right there. Duh, on the back. Devil's Reign. An 8-part crossover. This poor book has seen some moisture damage. I don't care. It's not that amazing. But after the Devil's Reign, Cyberforce goes for another few issues, and I stopped collecting it because I think they changed the artist. And that's kind of, once you got an artist I'm not into, and the follow-up guys is just not that great, I'm out. I'm gone. I'm done. See ya. And I don't know whatever happened to it. I know it got rebooted 2 or 3 or 4 times, kind of like how Liefeld did with Youngblood. They keep trying to recap on the success or the hype of these characters who have a little bit of name recognition and popularity, but it just never seems to catch ever. But it's almost to the end. This is kind of the end of the original run before they get into the big crossover thing, which is pretty fun. But yeah, David Finch, this is where he was kind of really defining himself and coming into his own to start, inked by Joseph Weems. I've said it a lot where I just feel like he's just like the greatest inker, especially on top of Finch. I think it looks amazing. But yeah, Brian Holguin as writer, David Finch, pages 1 through 9 and 14 through 18. Then you got a guy, it says Michael Turney. I thought they'd maybe fucked up, but it's supposed to be Michael Turner. But there's no Michael Turner art in this book. So I don't know who Michael Turney is, but pages 10 through 13, I mean, when you have an artist jump in and help fill out pages on a book, it's a really weird idea unless you absolutely have no other options to have an artist whose style is so vastly different than the guy who's been defining the book for the last year or two, or however long it's been. I've never heard of this Michael Turney before or since. I didn't bother to Google it or try to look it up before I did this video. And then it says D. Barron, pages 19 through 22. I don't know what the fuck a D. Barron is, but when you get to the pages, if you're familiar with the artist at the studio at the time, I knew immediately who it was. And why they called him D. Barron, we'll wait until we get there. Joseph Weems on inks, KC, whoever that is. And then the coloring is always awesome. Anyway, so we get some pages with, you know, Finch doing, you know, what he does really well with Joseph Weems inking. It's basically leaning into the idea that the most boring character in Cyberforce gets a hyper focus, which is weird because he's the most boring character. Heatwave, the boring third-rate Cyclops. Like, every super team has the leader. Like, Wildcats had Spartan, right? Youngblood has Shaft. Cyberforce has Heatwave. And he's fucking boring. He's just Cyclops. And this is Psylocke. And this is Colossus. And that's Cable. And this is Wolverine. And that's Kitty Pryde. That's who they were. But Cyclops is interesting. Heatwave is fucking boring as shit. So they're having him go through some turmoil, inner turmoil. He's suffering. He's mad. He's angry. He's losing his mind. Something is wrong. He's riding his bike. He gets out to the forest. He jumps off this rocky precipice for whatever, you know, whatever reason. And he's posing in the air, bursting with energy. Swan song, it says. You know, I've said before about Finch. He started, I thought he was kind of okay. And then there's times where he was just unbelievably fascinating, so good. And then he started developing some artistic kind of quirks that I ended up not liking. So much so that when he left here and he went over to Marvel, I stopped collecting books because he was drawing them. It just bugged me. But then he pivoted again and got even better. Did some Batman stuff, did some, I think, Wonder Woman stuff. But his Skinbreaker stuff currently, holy Lord, is it just amazing, amazing, amazing. Looking back at this, he's starting to develop some little quirky stuff that it's kind of odd, not my favorite, but it's going in that direction. You know, the team, their headquarters got blown up. They used to live underground in a secret bunker underneath a gas station out on the edges of town. Now they're surrounded, like they're staying with Cyblade because she's super rich, so she's got a giant mansion. So they're all just hanging out, staying there in regular clothes. You know, I'm not really interested. I didn't read this. You know, the girl, Velocity, she's trying to explain, like, you know, we should be heroes. We should not be doing good. Because Cyberdata, the people that built them and created them, their whole reason for being, the entity that they were fighting, they're gone. They're like, well, what are we going to do with ourselves now? And so Velocity, again, the Kitty Pryde of the group, she's like, we should be out there doing good. We should be helping people because literally says the whole great power means great responsibility thing, because we can. We're the good guys. We can go out and solve problems in the world, the environment, endangered species, the homeless, school bullies. You know, and she's trying to be like, we should find a meaning for ourselves and we should do good in the world. So they have some conversations back and forth, but at the same time, we're seeing some flashbacks, which I like the coloring. And the inking is so good on these small drawings. Joseph Weems, I gotta say, Finch is doing really good, but Weems is the star here. He adds texture and depth to this stuff that's so good. He's so good. But Heatwave himself, he's right here. I mean, he was out jumping around, but now he's back here with the group. They're talking back and forth, but he's got memory implants that are coming back of him, like executing someone, and he's having headaches. He's freaking out. He's dropping to the ground. He's freaking out so much that he, takes a swipe at Cyblade and back, some kind of, conditioning to control his mind is this headshot right there. I don't know what these little things sticking out of his eyes are supposed to be. It's all kind of like, I've seen all of this kind of stuff before. I kind of like the layouts with these chunky borders. It works. But yeah, Heatwave. I guess he's got mental instabilities due to conditioning that we didn't know he had. He's pissed off. He's having flashbacks. He's freaking out. He's got an evil look on his face. He charges up his powers and blasts out of the wall of the skyscraper building or whatever, the mansion that they're staying in, yelling, "Make it stop. Please make it stop." I've never seen that in a comic book anywhere. It's a pretty impressive spread. Again, Finch is pretty damn good. Joseph Weems' inking is just kicking the shit out of it. And the coloring is always fantastic. But yeah, Heatwave, do we care if he's interesting or awesome? Because he's not, but do we care? And then we cut back to an interlude. Here's this guy, some government soldier. He's looking at a picture of Heatwave because his name in the book has always been explained to be Dylan Cruz, which is like the worst name ever. And this guy says Dylan Cruz, and he says even the name sounds fake, which is kind of tying into the fact that he's had his mind wiped, kind of like Wolverine Weapon X style. And so his name is even fake. And I love how they say even the name sounds terrible, because it does, Dylan Cruz. So now we get into, this is a Finch page. Stupid Heatwave falls from the sky, crash lands on the ground. So now we get into his pages 10, 11, 12, 13. So this one, this spread, and this page there is this other artist, Michael Turney, and it's this super cartoony, like, look, there is Heatwave right there. So when you see what Heatwave looked like before, let's just go back to it. Let me flip back. There's Heatwave by Finch. Stubble, gritty, angry, Image Comics superhero. And then you get this. Like, I'm not saying it's bad art. It's not. It's just, I don't dig it. It's such a drastic departure from the style that was going on. Why bring this guy on? It's really weird. Now we got to flip the book on its side. So a big panel of fighting, explosion, action. I mean, the colorist has to really go to town. This Michael Turney does not want to draw in rendering of metal textures on impact here. He's just a big round muscle shape. I'm like, you have to keep it on model. Like they put the lines on, kind of like you see on Colossus or any cybernetic or metal guy in most comics. They got the lines and then sheens and highlights and renderings. Didn't bother to do it at all. Like the coloring looks kind of good, but these poses, velocity looks kind of weird. The explosions, the poofs of smoke are kind of an interesting rendering there. This is an interesting shot of Cyblade's face. It's interesting that they didn't bother to put the metal texture on her. It's just her spandex outfit. She always had metal texture on her body from her tits down. Her shoulders were always bare, but now there's none of that. But that's kind of an interesting shot. Hands are good. Leather rendering is kind of good. It's just such an odd, variation of artwork. And again, look at this. It's got some quirky, interesting kind of facial expressions, but it doesn't feel right for a Cyberforce comic. And what the fuck is going on with her hair with this loop in it? And like, I like that expression, but it feels so out of place. But yeah, they're having trouble keeping Heatwave, whatever the hell he's doing. It's just whatever. And then suddenly, boom, it jumps back to David Finch. And so just, again, drastically different art. You wouldn't think this is the same scene. He's still struggling with memory implants, or maybe it's real. I don't know. He's got some girl. He's going to shoot her. Velocity keeps chasing him down through the alleyways. God, we're going to run into Spawn at this point. So Heatwave runs along, finds a motorcycle. I guess he steals it. There's some shots that are silent as Heatwave is thinking about his past and the people he's interacted with. The team is standing around wondering where the hell he went. There's another incongruous thing. Look at Cyblade. She's in like her sweatpants and like her workout outfit that she was in, that Finch was drawing her in at the beginning of the book. Like here. But then they're in a fight in the middle of the city, and this other artist puts her in her superhero outfit, and then she's just back in this thing because they're probably not coordinating pages with each other so that one doesn't know what the other's doing. Now suddenly, this is the last page by Finch. Again, more images of past things that were going on. Just showing Heatwave, he's losing his mind. He's thinking back to stuff that's happened that we know and stuff that's happened that we don't know about. He's losing his mind. He's crashing. So then this is where we get into another artist. And I couldn't tell immediately from that panel or that panel, but the instant I saw that panel right there, the shadows, the ink work, the line work, the way that it's drawn, I'm like, that's Brandon Peterson. I know that instantly. He's just got such a definable style. I'm like, that's Brandon Peterson. Who the fuck is D. Barron? Like, I imagine they did this as some kind of in-joke to them, which is fine. But why not credit it with his name? But again, maybe it's a in-joke to them. I don't know. But these pages, if you look at them, like down here, that is Brandon Peterson all the way. Like if you've seen the medieval Spawn and Witchblade crossover, that's where I first noticed him really changing his art style to really look like something different. I've heard a lot of people say there's a lot of Michael Golden influence into Brandon Peterson's work like this. I know almost nothing about Michael Golden, but I've seen enough of it to kind of see like, okay, I see that, I see the connection. But yeah, this is Brandon Peterson work. And so Heatwave's whatever the fuck. He's flipping out. He's on his motorcycle. The team can't find him. And then Heatwave is in the air and he's glowing with energy and he erupts in an energetic explosion. And the text is supposed to be something ominous. Blah, 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 blah. It says, let each atom of my being dissolve into the liquid warmth of the sun, fade into sheer glorious entropy. It's also clear now, this person, this body is not me. I know who I am. I am nobody. I am nothing. I am everything. I've never seen such light. My God, it's so beautiful. And then it says, to be continued in Devil's Reign. And then in Cyberforce 30, prepare yourselves. There's a heat wave coming. This would normally never fucking matter because Heatwave sucks. He's so boring. And I think this is leading up to them killing the character, which I think they were all acknowledging like, okay, Heatwave sucks. Let's have him turn into a villain and kill him. Which, like, okay, that feels like a trope, a cliche thing to do. I guess if you do it right and it's interesting, but I don't seem to remember it being interesting. But that's kind of the end. So the next thing is the Devil's Reign crossover. I'll start on those soon enough. Next time we won't see issue 30 of Cyberforce until I get through Devil's Reign. But in a way, this is not, it's not the end, but it's like almost the end. It's kind of the end of the run, like I said, because they from here on it goes to the Devil's Reign, big changes happen, and there's a couple issues, and then I don't know, Cyberforce ends not too long after that, but I know I stopped collecting. So it's kind of it for Cyberforce. We get one last big crossover that had some kind of boring parts, but then some really big high points of really interesting stuff. Well, interesting in terms of art. None of the stories are like amazing. It's just interesting to see these characters cross over with each other. We get Wolverine and Witchblade crossing over. That's a thing. Drawn by Michael Turner. So that's another thing that's awesome. So, I don't know. You know, it's Cyberforce just never really reaches heights. It never had a moment where, like, Jim Lee turned Wildcats over to Alan Moore and become profoundly interesting. Same thing with Supreme, where Liefeld turns over Supreme to Alan Moore and becomes some of the best comics you've ever read. If only Silvestri could have got a hold of Alan Moore and given him Cyberforce. I can't imagine Alan Moore giving a fuck, but you pay him enough, I'm sure he would come up with something. But it's just kind of, it's just okay. It's just okay stuff. It's not terrible, but it's not great. Anyway, Cyberforce number 29. That's all I got for this one. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.